This week, it's going to be about the Barclays Premier League season. Sorry, not Barclays anymore. It's just a habit.
The season has been lots of highs, lows, lots of drama, and just like the perfect Premier League season, I guess.
Manchester City won it again in dramatic fashion. It seems like they just do it to fuck with Manchester United fans.
You can tell by the way the City and Liverpool teams play that those 11 people on the field just seem to get along much better than any other 11 we've seen for a very long time now.
Arsenal being Arsenal, I don't know how do these guys always screw it up when it matters the most.
Well, but you can't bag a lot of things with Spurs, unfortunately enough, for them, not for anyone else. But where I really did enjoy was Everton was in the relegation zone. I'm like, what?
Like, the table never lies. That's something that I truly believe.
Next season's top 4 fight is going to have be even more interesting.
Thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Gui. It's been a torrid season for our clubs, but we keep going. Kevin De Bruyne wins Player of the Season ahead of Mo Salah. 23 goals and 12 assists, top of the list in goals, tied with Son, and the sole leader in assists, one ahead of his own teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold. How did Salah not win Premier League Player of the Season? Thoughts, guys?
Shocking.
So, I think both the awards are quite like sketch, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that now. Phil Foden winning Young Player of the Season. Again, Shubham, these were announced before it was confirmed that City will win the league. Both these awards were awarded yesterday and the league was won the next day. Like the previous day and the league was won the next day. But
when we talk about young players, who's Phil competing against?
Trent Alexander-Arnold is in the running. Bukayo Saka is in the running. Mason Mount is in the running. There are some top players who are in the running for for best young player. But I think even potentially Reece James is in the running. I know, fine, Chelsea's season wasn't great, but Reece James as a defender having 9 assists for the season, pretty solid whenever he played. I think he put in a shift. According to me, there are more claims for that. Phil Foden, he had 9 goals, ended up with 9 goals or 10 goals. That's about it.
I've realized one thing when it comes to the awards.
So is this a very simple question, right? Like when you're asking who he's competing with, there are 2 people on both the lists, like Premier League Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season, right? Trent and Saka both made both lists, and this guy didn't make the main list. So how nobody can explain it, but somehow he's one Young Player of the Season over both of them.
Yeah, that's exactly the same where in basketball. It's like, I remember there were these talks about when Giannis won MVP, and there were doubts over whether he'll win Defensive Player of the Year as well. But that makes sense because basketball is very much a two-way game. Here you're performing a role. You're not expected necessarily to do both things. You're not expected to be a pure defender as well if you are an attacker, especially if you're a winger, like in the case of Saka. Or Trent is fine. Trent, I still understand. He's supposed to put in a defensive shift. He tries, but he can't. Like, that's a different issue. But yeah.
One thing that Gui brought up that he wasn't in the list. I think if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Ronaldo also not there in the nominees for the Player of the Season list?
Shubham has to bring it up. Shubham has to bring it up.
Like, come on, let's be realistic now. This guy gets in 18 goals, and right now is quickly doing the math. United scored 57 goals. He scored 18 goals. That's 31.5% of the goals for one entire club in the league, and he doesn't even get in the list of nominees. Like, how does that even make sense?
I agree. Ronaldo should be on that list. He was phenomenal.
I totally understand he doesn't deserve to win the award.
Yeah.
But at least like he should be there in the list, right? Like, how does that?
Yeah, it's very strange. It's a very strange system altogether. Honestly, I think I've given up on all of these individual awards now ever since the Ballon d'Or
Yeah,
fiascos.
100%.
I think I've
100%.
just sort of given up. And again, Kevin De Bruyne winning again. And it's not like his season was stellar as it was last year. Last year, I can still understand he was really good, like doing a lot of things. This season, I feel like he was getting angry, he was getting frustrated, and he was inefficient at a lot of times in his performance, where he just kept taking shots from distance in the hopes of scoring because he was getting frustrated that he wasn't able to score or create. I don't know, man. It's very weird.